If a customer comes to you, to be perfectly honest, and they want siding and roofing, do they want to deal with 2 contractors or 1? And most of the time I've found that they want 1 person to handle everything. You got to make whatever you're doing profitable. It's such a stupid thing to say, but it's true. The best advice I could give somebody starting out is to build a brand. And you're not going to do that by picking a month and spending 10 grand on marketing.
5 to 7% again.
When I show you my warehouse, you'll understand what I do on that part.
So all of this, like where's your warehouse? From that corner?
That corner to that.
Everything with a brick?
Everything, and then there's another building over here.
Wow, that's a lot.
And
you are a
so,
control freak.
I am, a little bit.
Today we're in Mason City, Iowa with one of the oldest friends of Roofing Insights and my personal friend, Dan Young. Young Construction or Young Roofing, Young Construction Roofing is the name of the company. I'm a little embarrassed right now because I know this guy for like 7-8 years.
Gosh, a long time.
It's 2 hours from my house. I could take this road trip for the past 5 years so many times and I didn't. So we're gonna go inside and show you his office. But first, I want you to share your story about this building and your childhood. What was here before?
When I was a little kid, there were 7 of us. This was Wonder Bread.
Wonder Bread.
Wonder Bread. So my mom, back then when there were 7 kids, you know, you didn't have as much money. We didn't anyway. She used to come here to buy the bread and freeze it. And I always remembered when you were little, if you were good, you got Twinkies or Ho-Hos or something.
Before you bought the building, how many years you've been in business, and why did you put eyes on this building? Because of the story, or it was just available?
22 years we've been in business. I was already somewhat successful. I had a building in North Springs, and then Wonder Bread went bankrupt. They all of them went under, and I remember.
How does it feel to own the building?
It's surreal. Memory. It is such a good memory. I actually collect Wonder Bread items. So I collect original Wonder Bread stuff, signs, different things.
Comment below your story. If you came from nothing, and if you have something like that from your childhood that helps you drive now, comment it. When we were living in Siberia, we also were poor, and I remember one time we have a stack of frozen pizzas. I'm in Siberia, so it's like -30 outside. And we found a stack of pizzas. I'm oldest of 7 kids. We took it home. It was the best meal in a long time that we have. The best memory.
You know, back then your mom did what she had to do to feed the family.
For me personally, I feel like people who went through that, they build different for business and they build different businesses growing up. I mean, if you study a lot of billionaires, they still have habits from the childhood.
There's still things that, you know, your great gratitude, I think, is what you want to call that. Because now, coming from where you did, you every time you have a frozen pizza, you remember that.
Exactly.
Yep.
But how do we teach our kids gratitude when they did not experience that?
I try to talk to them about it. Yep, I do. Yep.
I know in our business, we don't have people coming to our offices, but I've visited quite a few, like Eric Rena. He's on the main street in Michigan, or forget little city outside of Michigan. You're on the main road, 10,000 cars?
Approximately 10,000 cars a day. I'm not a big fan of being in an industrial park, because if you pull up to a strip, you're hidden. Nobody knows you're there. Mm-hmm. I like to be out in the public. If that costs me more money to get, and then we actually pull the traffic study.
Do people walk in?
All the time. When you're driving home, the wife's been on you to get a roof, get something done, you pull in. Happens all the time.
How many jobs do you think per year you're getting just from walk-ins?
A lot, especially during the summer, especially after any kind of event, storm or anything. But you know, we track it. We track it on our CRM.
Sure.
And we do so much different types of marketing. I've had people will say they've seen us in a commercial on TV. Well, we haven't done TV for 3 years. You got to put the money in marketing long term. A lot of people will try to put in $10,000 in a month and wonder why nobody called. This has taken years to be able to where when something happens around here, our phone's ringing. We are busy.
I see you have OC and Atco. What do you sell the most? OC is a bestseller.
OC.
How much metal roofs do you do?
Quite a few now. Edco Steel is one of my favorites. I personally like it. I like their siding.
Yeah, we installed a few back in the day too.
It's one of my favorites durability-wise, but when we go to these events, you go to a lot of them, I do. Mm-hmm. When we go to these events, shingles is still the largest market. Asphalt shingles is the largest market in roofing, if you guys don't know.
It's like 80%.
Yeah, and we were just talking about this, and I'm gonna bring it up for anybody out there that's trying to build a brand or a business. 80%, I think it's about 80. I could be wrong on the number, but the largest percent of roofing is retail. It's not storm. That doesn't mean that we don't pursue storm or that we don't actively pursue that, but if you look at the big picture and you study this industry, it's deceptive. Everybody thinks that, well, storm would be the biggest.
Is it because of the media coverage? Is it because we see storm damage or insurance claims? I mean, think about it. Like when storm hits, we hear like $100 billion storm, $50 billion storm.
I thought a lot about this. Why do people feel that? And I think finally got to the answer in my mind is that you're in a bubble. And unless you peek out of the bubble, you don't know. So if you're in storms and all you do is storms, if you're in retail, when you start being more active in the industry and going out and seeing, a lot of it has to go back to what's being built. So if I'm looking at the market nationwide, there's more building going on than a billion. So the numbers for roofing and the numbers for construction are higher in the industry of the whole as a building, as doing it that way versus a storm comes through and does $1 billion. That's a lot of work. Roofs, it is a lot of work. Denver just got clobbered. They're going to have, quite a few years of work there.
But for the past 5 years, they were dry. And the reason we think that storm chasing and storm industry is so big, because we focus on companies who do big numbers. You look at a $100 million company, but what's $100 million company? If average roofing business is 1 million, that's 100 $1 million companies. But those $101 million companies, they're everywhere, but they don't make noise.
A small percent.
Exactly.
Because you just hit on the 1 million, the 1 to 5 million guys are the guys that are the bigger part of the industry. If we're being real honest, Colorado, 5 or 6 years, no storms. A lot of companies during that time didn't make it.
So you have windows, you do a lot of windows?
We do, I do Pella, Anderson, and product-wise, Owens Corning, I'm a platinum contractor. I'm a big fan of Owens Corning, obviously. But with windows and with housing, it depends on what kind of house you're gonna build. If you're building a certain type of home, you're gonna want a certain type of window. It's the same thing with siding. If you're doing a certain type of home, you're gonna want a certain type of siding.
I know a lot of companies are ditching siding and not doing siding. Are you doing siding because of the insurance claims? Or are you doing siding because...
That's a really good question. So about 5 years ago, a lot of people didn't want to keep doing the siding. They felt that it wasn't profitable. And so a sales guy wasn't making the money that he wanted to make. And rather than give up a stream of revenue, because when roofing or storms don't hit or when things slow down, if all you do is one trade, I think you're headed down a road that's going to be a problem at some point. If a customer comes to you, to be perfectly honest, and they want siding and roofing, do they want to deal with 2 contractors or 1? And most of the time I've found that they want one person to handle everything. I remember when I first started, I would lose jobs to somebody that did roofing and gutters. And what I found is that they didn't want a bunch of different people doing the job. They wanted one trusted contractor. And so when we got into gutters,
Gutters are more profitable than roofing.
They are, but when you're subbing it out, sometimes it's not as profitable. You got to make whatever you're doing profitable. It's such a stupid thing to say, but it's true. So what did we do? I looked at every aspect, everything that do with siding and everything that we were doing wrong, which is the hard part, by the way. You got to look at what you're doing wrong and fix it. And it was in production. It was in every aspect of siding. We were underbidding. The sales team had to be trained better at how to sell siding, which was one of the biggest ones. And letting them know, a roof, I can send a sales guy out and bid a roof in a couple hours, done. Full scope, everything. Siding, it's gonna be there a while. It's gonna be there a little bit longer. It's a lot more detail. Especially-
Do you have salespeople who just specialize in siding?
I didn't do that. If you sell for us, you have to be able to sell anything.
How many sales reps do you have?
It fluctuates right now. I think there's 7 or 8.
7, 8, love it.
And that fluctuates. This year we hired 2 more.
Let's go to this wall over here.
Oh yeah, wall of shame.
Wall of shame, wall of fame.
We're really active in the industry every year.
What's the biggest, what certificate are you the most proud of?
It's not here. It's not up here.
What is it?
My favorite ones is we give a roof away to every year that has nothing to do with Owens Corning or anybody. We pick people that we feel that can't get a roof because of bad insurance, or
Sure.
a single mom with 2 kids or something. We pick people with no income, doesn't matter, nothing matters. We try to pick somebody that's deserving. And then my favorite of all is our Christmas that we do, that's not here, that we do a Christmas every year. We do $500 giveaway for Christmas for people to go shopping. When I was growing up, the holidays were harder with 7.
Really?
Yeah, they didn't have as much as they do now for people. I'd rather, we even changed a lot of things that we do to give back. I try to stay away from institutions and try to be more direct impact, I call it. I like Reader's Choice though, I get that every year.
How does that work?
Everybody in the area, your city, votes. They nominate you for who's the best roofer.
I see.
And I don't think I haven't got
So
it.
you have a lot of those.
I got that every year, yeah.
I don't see Angie's List here.
No Angie's. I've never done it. You know,
You've
they
never
call, no, never. Did you?
But back in the day, 2013, 2014.
That's right. That's why you hate them.
Yeah. For, like my wall would be like all Angie's List awards.
You know, and when you're starting out in this business, it is hard to get leads. I get it. There's a lot of different ways. You have to try. The best advice I could give somebody starting out is to build a brand. And you're not going to do that by picking a month and spending 10 grand on marketing. It's going to take you time.
Or hire someone.
Or hire someone. We brought it in-house, everything, because everybody reaches out. How many times when you're running a roofing company, Angie's, nonstop, phone calls, knock doors. Hey, if it works for you, great. Consistency for us to build a retail business, I needed to get better at our marketing. And then once I got my people up and running, and I believe you should cross-train, by the way. You should have more than one person that's trained on what you're doing. So if your marketing guy or girl gets promoted or moves, you have the opportunity to keep your marketing at the same level. And I'm heavily invested as an owner. I am always paying attention to my marketing because that's my revenue. That's my biggest thing as an owner. I'm a leader.
What's bigger, marketing or sales? What's more important?
I think it's, Tammy, come here. What's bigger, marketing or sales?
I think they go together.
I think they go together.
You got to market, but I think your relationship with sales never ends. You know, your customers are your customers for life, you know.
I was listening to Grant Cardone and Robert from Shark Tank. So they have that question. It really got me thinking, because guys like Grant Cardone, they're all like sales fix everything for me. Marketing sells everything, because if you don't have leads, sales is going to be 10 times harder. You can have 10 sales guys, but if you're dry, if your marketing not up, but if you have a lot of leads, the sales are easier.
If you're not branding, and I say it all the time, because marketing is a word that's just thrown out.
Sure.
McDonald's still does marketing.
Yeah.
They still
People
do a
will
brand.
forget about you.
People will forget about you. And building a brand, not just any brand, but building a brand and trying to keep it the best that you can keep it. We brought in our first marketing person, how many years ago?
4.
4 years ago. We brought it in-house because as an owner, we started out doing all this ourselves. Me and her, she was actually in radio for 20 years. And then when we met,
Do you guys do radio advertising now?
we hire people that are younger, and that's their gig. Most of our kids are all on this right now.
Sure.
Everything you ask is, I need a roof. And we've done this before. Where do you come up when you ask that question? At your business today. If you're watching this, ask your phone and see where you come up. Is it a paid? Did you come up because you paid to come up? Or did you come up? Because I like organic a lot. I like coming up because where it doesn't say ad, it makes me know that we're doing something right in that industry. What do you think? We're gonna find out how good our marketing is right now.
I have iPhone, and I just type in roofers near me, Young Construction and above, but the data on Apple Maps sucks in from Yelp. It's actually Yelp. So if you wouldn't have Yelp, you would not show up here. Well, you just need to know who's working with who. Like Google, the same thing. Google, Bing, they all have partnerships. Like you need to understand consumer behavior and what people are doing, what people do when they travel. When I travel and looking for CrossFit gyms, I go to my Apple Maps and I see.
And I do the same thing, only I use the not Apple. I'm a
Yeah, and you have to be
Android.
in front of that search, but you have to use both and you have to test both because it's all consumer behavior. If you're against Yelp, for example, it means that you're not going to be on Apple search, and that's a big price to pay to not be somewhere.
Because you just asked, if somebody asked me or Tammy, well, we still do some radio, and we still do quite a bit of marketing in that, but now it's all younger. It's all younger generation. It's going to be through your
What about other traditional marketing, flyers?
everything. We cover, and that's the other one. There is not one home base for us. I often hear people say mailers don't work.
Sure.
It's like a 1% return. Well, do mailers work if you geo-target the area, then send out the mailers, then send out your people? It's a combination of everything. It's not just one form of marketing. It never has been. And then where are you at? You know, meaning we have this location, Waverly, Albert Lee. We'll target areas if there's some storm event. But consistently, that is the biggest thing, I think. If I could give anybody anything, let's say you were going to spend $10,000 in a month and think that you're going to get all these calls, and then you don't. You say, well, Facebook ads don't work. Your issue, you should have divided that money up into two in different piles and done it for 6 months and see what happens.
Why do you think so many people in our industry against branding? Like, for example, every time I bring vehicle wraps, you always have people in comments, that's stupid, vehicle wraps don't work. You're just passionately against it.
Vehicle wraps and jack the truck up, right? Yeah. We went with branding on the trucks. I think when you do any kind of thing, branding on your vehicle, if there's too much, they can't see it. It's just everywhere. So when I go to an area where there's an event, like I was down at an area where they had 2 hours away where they had a storm, even their signs had all this information. And ours, we keep it like they're young construction, roofing, young construction.
Less is more.
Less is more, having the same numbers, just keeping it simple. All I see when I see some of the wraps is just a big cluster. We still use boards.
Of course. Whiteboarding, my favorite parts.
I still do it.
That's the way to go.
Always have.
Because you're a visionary. Because that's how you build a process.
It is, you know, we found there was points where some companies are straight into, hey, here's Greg. Greg, say hi, Greg. Greg runs this office. This is Greg's office.
Is it a production office?
Yes. This is one of the hardest jobs in the company. This is a way more, and one of the most important that I think people neglect. If you're going to have problems building a company, it'll be here. And we were talking about the boards. He can walk in here, I can walk in here. Anybody that works for us can walk in here and say, oh, I need to do that. If it's hidden in the computer in one of your CRMs or whatever, you tend to forget. I did a new one. This might help some of you. I took it from one of your things. You were doing a thing. This is the problem board. And I think it's important to show people that are building the company. We call it issues. So if you sell for us or you work for us and you have a repair or something happen, the restroom's over there, you have to walk by your problem every day. So this is when you're running hundreds of jobs, this is where the issues are. It's always in front of you every day.
Like all of their problems are in the gutters and saying, why so many problems with the gutters?
Some of these are repairs.
Okay.
So some are repairs. These are probably more the issues, like furnace vent on garage, got knocked off. So we'll send someone out to go fix that. And if you put it on here, then what doesn't happen is this customer doesn't call a week later completely pissed off because it was in a CRM, buried. So it allows us, and then so what we'll do is our siting crew will get a list of this before he gets his next job. And he's got to go repair a certain amount. This is him coming by saying they called.
Got it.
John did not deal with his problem.
Got it.
And then there's levels too. So some of these people reach levels of where all of a sudden one of these will become the top. It gets done. This board, without this board, you could be holding back $500,000.
Bad news. 5 to 8% increase.
5 to 8%. Share this with me. Send it to me. I'm collecting this right now.
He is. He's just did a post on it.
I'm doing a story on price increases.
August 1st.
5 to 7% again.
When I show you my warehouse, you'll understand what I do on that part. If you're able to do it, maybe you're not, but we buy a lot of material.
Of course.
This is our production room. We do have full-time videographer, does all our videoing. So when I first went and brought in
Construction
marketing,
lights for lights.
you like that? This is nice.
It's
I ordered some. I'm waiting for them. But you know, when we started, everybody wasn't hiring marketing. And then 2 years ago, I came to see you. I was at your event and a few others. And it was then that I hired, I think it's been 2 years now. This will be the second year, a full-time videographer, which is one of the best decisions I ever made.
Really? What kind of videos you guys making?
Everything. I don't know what it is. We had the Pink Panther jump in the pool. We did that because we're giving out beach towels to the kids at the pool. So we ordered a whole bunch of beach towels with our logo. Nothing, just giving them to the kids, paid for a pool day, stuff like that. We do a lot of back for the community to build the brand. This is my videographer.
How's it going?
He's got a
Where are you?
He's got a big stain on the wall up there.
Oh, geez. Yeah, I'm sure. Nick.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
So,
And then this is our marketing. She's out marketing. Lori, what's the % increase on our supplementing, roughly?
What do you mean percentage that we?
On a claim,
What's your average increase?
I would say probably like at least a 10%.
minimum? I would say it depends on the claim.
Of course.
You know, I mean, and honestly, I think it depends on where you're at. The Minnesota is a better pricing. So, and then it depends on who the insurance is really, because some insurance companies actually do know how to write a claim.
I would say our average supplement is probably about $2,000.
Yeah.
So,
On a small claim, where if it was
On
Minnesota, it
average.
could be $5,000.
What's your average ticket here?
20, around 20 for the roofs. You mean?
Yeah.
Just for a roof.
Just for a
around
roof.
20, 18
Yeah.
to 20.
Interesting.
Depends on where you're at. Even 2 hours towards the south changes the number.
Of course.
It's just
Exact minute game.
that and how big of an event, you
Yeah.
know? All right, that's it. That's the whole tour.
So all of this, like, where's your warehouse? From that corner,
That corner to that,
everything with a brick?
everything, and then there's another building over here.
Wow, it's a lot.
So this is where we keep some of our extra leftover stuff that you got to come and find. And then
That's
this
because
is
you
the-
do siding, that's why.
Yeah. And then this is my warehouse. All this is our synthetic felt. It's all custom branded. I buy containers.
Containers?
Yeah.
Direct?
You got to go through a distributor, but yeah.
Sure. How long this will last you? This summer?
There's a lot here. There's so each one of these is 48 rolls, right, Dan?
Yeah.
64.
64 rolls. So, you know,
You're
got-
good for 2 years probably.
Yeah.
we're good for a while on synthetic felt. But we do it with everything. We do it with everything. We bulk buy. You seen today we had a price increase, right? It was 8 to 10%. It's coming. Did you guys get the email yet?
This price usually
Not every-
affects shingles or shingles and accessories.
Shingles and accessories, but what I do, if you're able to do this, a lot of people aren't able to sit on there. There's millions of dollars here. I'll buy when volume's low. So a hurricane,
Price will go up.
or not a hurricane. Storms just hit Denver. I'm purchasing this month, probably, before the prices fluctuate. A lot of the storms control the pricing. It's just no different than it's a commodity. What we're really buying, if we just remove the wording, whether it's synthetic felt, whether it's ice and weather, we're buying, a product, and by doing this, I'm able to control the pricing. I will say that you want to go with, these are all certified. I stick with products we know,
Sure.
and then I do it with the nails. That's a big one. Nails can fluctuate 50% difference in pricing. If you're doing thousands of roofs, then now when you start
have
out,
to do-
I don't know. But there's two ways to look at this. Where I'm in the Midwest here, it gets cold and the weather gets bad, and we stop roofing in November. But we still do some stuff, repairs, siding. We do siding. Depending on the weather, it slows way down. I'm okay with this. I can sit on this. All this is paid for. I don't owe nothing on this. So this is just years of building up a bankroll to be able to purchase product. Everything in my warehouse is paid. So all this, but it's taken time.
But now you're winning.
Because of my warehouse expenses and because of what I have invested into this warehouse with people, my price fluctuates with the market.
What are these cages?
This is what we put our small stuff on. I have my own trucks, just like ABC, only it's labeled with Young Construction, and we pull up to your job site with our trucks.
Wow.
And we drop our material just like they would.
So this is per job?
This is back where they'll pull the orders together and they'll make orders. They package them up and put them out on the dock, right through this door here. And then all this is going to the next job.
How do you like Malarkey Vista?
You know, I don't usually use them, but when the pandemic crap hit, it was the one shingle that I would use besides Owens Corning. As you can see, as soon as I was able to control the pricing again, which I don't know if I'm controlling the pricing, but I'm just buying at the right time. Knowing that the market went up 8 to 10% right now, I'll be buying this month. I am gonna throw this out there. You can't do this, in my opinion, unless you have a warehouse of full-time people. This is 3 full-time people here, but they also do, I have a full-time guy that has a CDL. All my trucks have to pass certification. He also brings all my lifts. I just bought a new lift, 80-footer. I have a 30-footer, or I have a 50-footer, and an 80-footer.
You are a control freak.
I am. A little bit. I think it's important to control. Well, I'll tell you what happened.
But other guys are investing in a warehousing they don't control.
And here's the other thing, a simple thing. We're doing a church. In my area, there's a bunch of lifts that were rented out. I couldn't get an 80-foot lift. I'm not going to have that happen. It's happened 3-4 times now. So while I don't use the 80-foot lift all the time,
when you need it,
when I need it, I need it. And I'm not going to pay an exorbitant. I think it was $3,000 to get the lift. And I just start doing the math. It's the same with material. I bought a container right before the pandemic, my first container. And then the pandemic hit, and this was sitting in the dock for, it was about 3 or 4 months. And then it came, and synthetic felt went to $110 or $120 a roll. I just lucked out. And then my other one for the synthetic felt, everybody says my roofers roof too quick. Why should I do branded felt? Maybe they do, but if you're doing a neighborhood with 50 homes and a storm hits, all you see is orange. You can see our orange from a mile away. This is the warehouse one. We could go through them all, but there's a lot. Remember when you told me it wasn't roofing you wanted to do? I remember that. I remember the day you told me that.
Well, yeah, because I got in by accident. I mean, it was good. It's American dream.
Look where it brought you. It's okay to do whatever you want to do, but
yeah,
you know, I got into this, and I never thought I would have, you know, half of what I have now.
And I love it. I actually love this. Like, I love warehouses. I love.
I got another building that was my first building in North Springs where I keep my toys and stuff, and I don't show that because I just don't want people to.
This is cool.
You know,
all the gutter stuff.
Everything is like, you could right now, if you don't have a product or something and you're on a job site, this is very well, I'm OCD.
Yeah.
You know, I
have to be.
I'll probably be stocking up on OSB.
How much do you start? I'm surprised to see this little.
We had probably 3 lifts in here, and then it just left. It left because the price went down. So when I bought it, it was lower. And then so why at that time I shuffled out the old. Right now I'm getting ready to purchase because the price increase is coming. And that's the other one. I have a full-time guy that goes through everything. Every year we go through everything, all the equipment, all my lifts, everything has to be certification. If you bring it to a job and somebody gets hurt, you got to be right. I always consider this a savings account.
Yes, it is.
This is what it is. And if I have a year that's slower, I'm okay.
In the wintertime, you need this.
Oh,
you close the doors.
It's 20 below here in the winter.
Yes, in the wintertime, you need as much room as you possibly can for vehicles, for
equipment.
I mean, like you can do projects out of it.
We do. A lot of our winter stuff is done. So we have 3 months.
Siding, I remember.
3 months we get ready for the year. This is it. And you know, it's the one thing too where I couldn't do it unless it was like I'm organized. You're gonna spend.
You do snow plowing?
You know, we used to do a lot. Now I don't do as much. I have properties, so I do enough to where we do our own. but not really to make money, and maybe enough to keep the guys busy on a slow day. You're gonna have times where there's no storms, and you're gonna have times where it slows down. So I always have other forms of income. My biggest one is for us has been real estate, I think. As I built the company, I bought a small building. My first building, it's about 11 miles from here, and I paid that off within 5 years. Now I run into companies that I met 10 years ago that are doing $30, $40 million. And 10 years ago, they were paying $5,000 a month. And I'd say to them, well, and I was only 5 million at the time. I'd say, well, why aren't you buying a building? How come? And they're like, well, it's too expensive here to buy a building. 10 years later, they're paying $15,000 a month. Same company, and their revenue is right around 20 million, same, the numbers. You could have paid for half the building. So if you do it correctly, you'll put it under another LLC and then rent it back to yourself, and it's a tax write-off. So you basically bought a building with your company.
Dan Young is one of my most favorite people in the roofing industry. He's conservative. He makes tons of profit no matter of the size of his business. And this is exactly what we teach here. This is what we stand behind, and this is what we want to promote. Dan Young is one of the best business owners to learn from. Take your notebook, come to Orlando, Florida, December 12, 13. We're putting Dan Young on the main stage for 15 minutes to teach you how to build a solid brand and the profitable one too. In 22 years, Dan built an amazing brand, and I know he can teach young entrepreneurs to do the same. Come to Orlando to Roofing Process Conference to soak in all of his knowledge. See you then. Comment below what you think about this company tour. Give it a like for Dan. And if you like this kind of content and you want us to produce more, maybe nominate a company you would like us to visit next.